difficulties. Welcome to the drive, everyone.
Welcome.
We had technical difficulties this morning.
We did, and we are. We're getting it together.
We are, and we had Brenda told me to take a chill pill.
Cat needs a chill pill. Listen,
because
chill pill.
As much as I'm always late, I can't stand when it's like I'm right on time but not late. So this was the first time ever that we didn't hit the button.
That we didn't hit the button on time. It's this. Hold on.
All right. So we've got our notifications coming through, right?
Yeah, and the music just went off.
All right. So welcome to the drive. So what is the drive? It's a talk show that we do every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. We just changed the time. It's going to work out better for everyone, right? If you can come on live, awesome. If not,
right. Ultimately, it will work out better for everybody. This is our first week at 9 a.m. and it was a little challenging.
Oh, I should put it in drive, not neutral.
This is not the neutral, it's the drive.
Not neutral.
Get it? See what I did there?
That's funny. All right, so what do we do on the drive? We talk about how to navigate roads, which we're going to reveal today what roads are.
We are.
Which we're kind of excited and maybe slightly nervous about.
A little bit.
But I think it's the right thing. I really do.
Too.
So, and what else do we do? Well, we talk about the tough stuff, but with
serious and shenanigans.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a little serious, but we have fun while we do it. So that everything that we talk about, it's very serious topics, but we just want you to be able to have fun and enjoy yourself as we talk about it and kind of figure it out together.
Yeah, so I won't be watching comments. Brenda will be. I'll be watching the road.
Yes.
And today we're going to be talking about healthy boundaries. But before we get going, I'm so excited. I saw this morning, thanks to becoming part of the 330 to go media network.
Yes.
We had over 1,000 views on our first broadcast, which was crazy.
Did we?
Yeah.
I didn't see that. I missed that.
Yes. So 330 to go, if you guys aren't following it, for those of you that are in the Akron area, 330 to go is amazing. We've been super fans for a while, and
I'm getting it.
Oh, that's
yeah.
So turn that off?
Yeah. Just
okay. Brenda's also the techie here, so we decided it would be better. I'm going to be driving.
Yes. At first we were switching back and forth, and I was driving or Kat would drive. So now Kat will always be the driver. Ha! I did it again. No.
Hashtag be the driver.
Kat will always be the driver. I'll always be our navigational / technical expert here. So we got this.
A navigatrix.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's going to be your official title. So, back to 330 to go. If you guys are not following them, please do so. It's especially in the Akron area. But if you're somebody who's not in Akron and you're curious why we love it so much, if you follow them, you'll know.
Right.
But part of the network, I want to mention some of the other places that are part of the network. Can we pull this under? My dad's Bible is still holding this for us, but it's just not thick enough. Yeah, we may have to park. That's all right. We're right here. Right here? No, it's not. It's continuing to slide.
Right.
So
just want to let you know, like we said, we're part of the 330 to go family, and the 330 to go family includes other Facebook shows like Sip of Solidarity, which is really awesome. Really awesome ladies who have some really good conversations. So follow them. 27 Squared.
27 Squared. Does It Suck is another one.
That's my favorite one. And not favorite, like the other ones are not great, but I love Does It Suck because they test everything so that I don't have to. Like they go out, they try
That's a great way
food.
To look at it.
They try food and all kinds of stuff and give reviews right there online as to what these things are like. So I love Does It Suck.
Yeah. Another one is The Hop and the Bean, which we both. Oh shit, we gotta get our coffee. I ordered it. Okay, so we're not going to be able to park yet. Oh my gosh. I love that this is live. And very imperfect. So for those of you that are afraid to take action on something because you're waiting until you use perfection as procrastination.
Right. That's really good.
So don't do that.
Don't do that. Do what we're doing and suck at it. No, I'm just kidding.
So maybe they can do a Does It Suck show on us, and we can find out if this imperfect action that we think makes us relatable actually makes us just suck.
Right.
I don't know. Okay, and then there's also the Hop of the Bean, which that helped me think of coffee. We ordered coffee this morning, so we do need to go get that. And we love to shop local, but sometimes we cheat and do Starbucks because it's super easy.
Because it's super good.
No. But so is, we love, what's across from us? Chameleon Cafe.
We do. They have really good coffee.
So anyway, and then the last one is
Rubber City Reviews. Right. And they see movies so that I don't have to, which is awesome. And they review a lot of stuff just in the 330 area. Rubber City Reviews, I think they just did like a movie or something. And as a result, I don't have to go see the movie. So
because it sucked.
Because it sucked. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. They didn't say that. That's me. Oh. But, so yeah. So now we are part of that family. Those shows are now like our cousins. our cousins by default in the 330 to Go Media family. So that's awesome.
So when we see them, can I go, hey, cuz?
Hey, cuz!
Yay.
So again, today we are going to be talking about healthy boundaries. We're going to park here soon. We just have to get our coffee first. But we are really excited about this particular topic because when we did a poll and we asked everyone exactly what it is that they wanted to talk about, what it was that they wanted to go over, healthy boundaries was really, really, really popular.
Yeah. Well,
during that poll.
I think look in front of us. Look what it says on that car. Do you see it? I won't hold everyone.
Drive.
It says drive in front of us. So, yeah, and I think it's safe to say we won't give out too much information, but we're part of a group, a coaching group, and there were a lot, even yesterday, I think it came up, maybe because we said it was going to be the show topic, but there were several people in our group that deal with, that are having some issues with setting boundaries. And keeping them. I think that's what we'll talk about that as well. So I do want to say, like, since we are going live from this page, that's also the first time we're doing that.
Right.
We will be broadcasting from this page from now on. I told you that I want to do it, but I didn't tell you I was going to make this announcement. So we're at 260, 270-ish right now, likes on that page.
I haven't checked today. It's been going up daily, but yes.
When we get to 1,000, and we have to talk to Scott about this because he knows how to do all this stuff, we're going to give out $100.
We are.
So we'll put all the details on there too, but definitely like and share all this and all that kind of good stuff. So let's get into the healthy boundaries. One of the things, if you're new to the show, we don't really discuss these topics with each other ahead of time. We kind of are going to go with the flow of what we both think and come up with, and sometimes we find out that we think a lot alike, and sometimes we think differently.
Right. That's what makes it so good.
So, yeah, so one of the things I know, for me, I like to think about a healthy boundary as something like an act of self-love.
Oh.
That it's for me, not for the other person. So it's what I always like to say is it's not drawing a line in the sand and daring someone to cross it.
It's not that?
It's not that.
I like that.
Because I think a lot of times people say, if you this, then I'm going to do this to you. Like that kind of thing. I like to... Brenda Brown has a lot of information out on things about boundaries, and there's also an incredible podcast by Brooke Castillo that talks about healthy boundaries too, and she uses the house analogy. Like, you have a healthy boundary, or you have boundaries in your house, right? Like, you don't let, so for example with me, I don't let just anybody walk into my house.
Oh, okay. Right.
I also kind of have a rule, I guess, that it's an unspoken one, so we don't want unspoken boundaries aren't great, but the rule of I don't let people like if they come to my back door.
Oh yeah, they don't come to the front door; they come to the back instead.
Well, no, yeah, but it's no, meaning like I don't let them come like in farther than like that sunroom area.
Oh, okay.
Just for the most part, not everyone.
Right,
I mean, I don't know that's. Never mind. No. I just think it's really good about like
where are we going?
Yeah. So
I get your point though.
Yeah, so boundaries are...
You get to decide in your home what's acceptable and what's not.
Yeah.
As far... And, I mean,
And
those
who
are
comes
house
in and
rules.
how
That's
far
where
they
house
come.
rules come from when you play a game and they say, these are the rules, but then there are house rules. There are rules that are specific to my house that you may not encounter at someone else's house. But these are my rules.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get you.
Okay. So yeah, it's an act of self-love, and there was a quote that came up actually in my memories yesterday, that was that a healthy boundary is not an act against someone else, but it's something that you set. It's not saying like that other person is bad or
right.
And it should come from a place of love. I think when it comes from a place of anger and frustration, there's some other crap that you got to work through before you set that boundary.
I agree, and you have to know.
You have to steer it before you set the boundary.
That's what I was just gonna say. You have to know exactly. Why is this a boundary for me? Like, why is this a trigger? What's going on with me that this is an issue, so that you can articulate it well. Because I think a lot of times the reason that boundaries may get a negative connotation is because we go, hey, don't do that. And we don't explain, hey, listen, this is really an issue for me. This is why it's an issue for me. And I think, I mean, for the people that we care about, I don't want to say deserve, like we have to give them an explanation, but I think that for the people we care about, it helps when we give a reason that this is not acceptable or whatever.
And I think, and the only way you can do that really is if you're clear with yourself.
Correct.
And I think you can also, especially sometimes we have things that trigger us or people that trigger us, so everything they do triggers us. Do you know what I mean? So maybe that's not a boundary you need to set. Maybe it's a thing you got to fix within yourself. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think sometimes we have healthy boundaries for ourselves too.
Oh,
I think,
no,
do you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I mean, even if it's somebody who, it's not necessarily their action, but it's that person in particular who's the trigger, then you set healthy boundaries with yourself in figuring out, how do I need to associate this person? What do we need to do together? What do we not need to do together? Like, how much time? Like, I used to have, for people who were triggers for me, I, for the most part, have a set amount of time that I know that we can spend together. And, I mean, literally, I go like, okay, it's been about an hour. I'm going to go ahead and, separate before this goes left. So
you guys just carry on. I'll be right back. Hi, we have an online order for Cat with a K.
Let me check on that one.
Thanks.
Yeah, so funny, Cat with a K.
Can I get 2 drinks?
Yes.
All right, we'll see you at the window.
Thanks.
So Cat has like the best Starbucks here. It's always so funny because they have whole conversations. I was sitting here one day, there was like a line full of people behind us, and she's like, "Oh, how's your day?" "Well, my day's going great." And we carried on a whole conversation, and I'm like, there are people behind me, and she's like, "Well, you're all that matters right now." So
I know.
That's awesome.
Well, but because it does kind of move a little slow, I think they can, and they don't give you that feeling like I'm like I did this morning with you.
You did.
Sorry.
You I was like, hey, you gotta chill. Anyways, that was my boundary this morning.
Yes.
Cat was driving me nuts. We were trying to get ready, like we said. This is our first day going live at 9, so I was definitely running behind. I was out late last night, and I was running way behind. And she's like, "Oh, we gotta do it. Oh, put it up. We gotta. Oh my God, it's not working." And at one point, she was like, "It's not working. It's broken. What are we gonna do?" And I was like, "We'll be fine." So I did. I had to set a healthy boundary this morning. Like, you need to chillax.
Or you didn't do a consequence. Okay, so let's talk about consequences.
I love that.
So a consequence, I had said that yesterday, and when we were talking about it with that group, and it sounds negative. It has kind of a negative connotation.
It does.
And it does sort of sound like, if you this, then, if this, then that. But you used a word that I really liked, which was just an outcome. The outcome will be.
Right. I mean, I have to, because there has to be an action. There has to be, like we always, every action has a reaction. So if you continue to do this thing that I've explained to you is an issue for me. I was going to say
Murphy's Law. That's not Murphy's Law. That's everything that can go wrong will, right? Sorry, go ahead.
That is Murphy's Law.
Yeah, that's not.
I think there is something.
The reaction thing.
The reaction thing is it's a law too.
It is.
I just can't remember the name of it. Hey, somebody look that up for us. No, I'm just kidding. But so it's just making it clear. It's not necessarily because I have a big issue with tit for tat, with saying just because you did this, oh, I'm going to do that too. Or I'm going to, so it's not saying that, but it is saying that because this is an issue for me, I'm going to have to alter our interactions from this moment forward in this way, and getting really specific about in what way your relationship is going to change.
And I think doing that ahead of time, knowing that this is the where my boundary has been crossed, and then this is what's going to happen, and that you get clear with that ahead of time.
Tracy said you set the boundary of limiting your time with toxic people. Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, Scott said it's Newton's second law of physics.
Oh,
thank you, Scott. That's awesome.
Scott.
Thank you.
So yeah, I think getting clear. So that's kind of going back to that, getting clear, writing it down, I think is one of the best things that you can do, and work through it, and then know what that consequence is. Coming from a place of love, self-love for yourself, or that's what self-love is. That was redundant.
Self-love for yourself. Self-love for other people? No. That was awesome.
Yeah. And then love for that person, and love for the relationship. The one thing I think is really important to know is, like, you don't want it to be like escape. Like, if you really don't, especially like a toxic person, if you really don't want to have a relationship with them anymore, and you're using a healthy boundary as a way to just kind of, what is that, ripcord out of it. Hi, good morning.
Well, I always say that there is a difference between
Thank you.
a boundary and a barrier.
You too, thanks.
Like, there's a difference between a healthy boundary
Right.
and a barrier. I think what you're talking about, like, when it's not healthy, when it's not set a healthy way, then it becomes a barrier. And that is definitely not as healthy as a boundary. Those are two very different things. I always say that boundaries. Oh, I almost drank it. I almost drank your stuff.
It's okay. I have to show you guys something about my lipstick.
I forgot about my quote. You made me forget.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say something really good.
Don't ever blame it on me.
It was you, though. It was me.
Oh, excuse me, sorry.
Uh-oh.
She was not waiting.
She had an attitude.
She hadn't had her first coffee sip yet.
Right.
So
I was going to say something
quote.
good, but Kat made me forget. And
I know.
It was my own quote. It was something about boundaries and barriers, but yeah.
Boundaries and barriers.
I'll remember it later, and I'll
So you think we're good to drive?
No.
No, you think we should sit? Or have you been holding it?
Yeah, I think it's just because we were in that line that it was okay.
Okay, so we'll just go up here. So we talked about writing it down. We talked about making sure that it's coming from a place of love. Oh, that was what I was gonna say about the relationship is, it really needs to be something that to strengthen the relationship, because I think a lot of times people are so frustrated when they get to a point of setting a boundary, they're not even necessarily looking at it as a way to have a healthier relationship with that person.
Well, I think that depends on if the ultimate outcome is to have a strengthened relationship with that person, because sometimes our healthy boundaries are because that's not what's needed, not a strengthening of the relationship, but a distancing. So, I mean, I think it depends on the relationship and the situation.
But then isn't that a ripcord way out of it?
Oh, no. Because if it's more healthy for me, more emotionally healthy for me to limit my interactions with this person, no, that's not a ripcord. That's not me using this as an excuse. That's me saying it's more healthy for me to not associate with you on a regular basis than it is for me to associate with you on a regular basis. And that's my boundary.
But isn't that so you have a decent relationship with that person? Because if you spend a lot of time with them, then you wouldn't want to spend any time with them?
I think it depends on how you look at it. Because I know for me, some of my boundaries are that I don't want a relationship with those people. So let's say a family member. Mm-hmm. We are family. We have to interact. We will see one another. Mm-hmm. But my boundary is that I don't talk to you outside of when I have to see you at these family functions. Right. It's not necessarily to have a better relationship, because I don't necessarily care about the relationship. But there has to be a relational connection because we're family. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So I think it just kind of depends.
I think we're saying the same thing, though.
I think so, too.
Just saying it differently, because I do think, especially like with family, because family tends to be most people's trigger in some way.
Absolutely.
Mother-in-laws,
right?
We don't have them, so we don't have to worry about it.
I was gonna say we don't have those. I had a mother-in-law once. She was nice to me.
Awesome.
I was gonna say she was.
I've
nice
had 2, and they've been amazing. just saying. I have. They're awesome. I like them better than their sons.
And they were great.
Yeah. Had 2. Well, actually, I'm like I've had 3 because one had a stepmom.
Oh,
this is a whole other show.
Tracy said, it sounds like my text to my husband the other morning when I said not to wake.
Well, I think it said, if you wake me, I will kill you, but I don't remember. I did see this because she was sick. Hopefully you feel better, right. Tracy. But
not to wake me, or I may hurt you. May,
that's
in all caps. I let him know the boundary and the outcome / consequence.
Yes,
if he ignored
very
it.
Good. That was a very good, healthy boundary, Tracy. You did good. I want to know, did he honor it? I think he did.
She said she gets me because her my healthy boundary allows others to stay alive. That's what it is. It's like, be your family, so I have to let you live. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, and I want our interactions to be good when we do spend time together. I often say, like, I adore my family, my extended family. I also live really far away, and there's, like, sometimes I think that the fact that I don't interact with them all the time, and I'm not saying anything bad about any of my family, but I do think sometimes the more time you spend with each other, the more you do start to
see. I think that's where the difference lies, because I think you're giving me too much credit. I'm talking about family who I don't adore, who our only connection is familial relations, and I don't want a more help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give me a little bit too much credit. Even though they're family, I don't want to associate with them in any way. So it's not like, oh, you're my family and I love you. It's like, oh, you're my family. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. So I guess it isn't always to strengthen the relationship. That took a long time to convince me.
Because you were just giving me too much credit.
You're
like, oh, it's all sunshine and rainbows. And I'm like, nah, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. Definitely not always that.
Yeah. So then the other, kind of the last point of it is...
And we'll recap these points because we're all over the place a little bit today. So we'll recap them.
Is to stick to it. Because otherwise, you didn't set a boundary.
We have to be careful, and I said this yesterday, and it was really cool. We have to be careful that our
if you
boundaries,
do say so yourself.
If I do say so myself, it was really awesome when I said this. But we want to make sure that our boundaries are boundaries and not just suggestions. Like, if there's no consequence, then it's really just a suggestion. I would suggest that you treat me this way, please and thank you. And if they don't follow it, then if you don't enforce it, then
no. I get what you're saying, but kind of back to if you don't treat me this way, I don't know. That didn't fall well on my ears. It wasn't pleasing to my ears, as Charles says. Because I think it's more about our action and not their action. I don't know. Let me think about this for a second.
Because for me, it's about my requirements. And I know that, again, a lot of these words could have a negative connotation, but in order for me to have healthy connections with these people, there are some things that I, for lack of a better term, will and will not accept.
Right.
So the relationship is contingent upon, and it's not about their personalities, but it's more about actions that could be taken.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That I consider to be against me. So I require these, not specific behaviors, but I do require that our interactions be positive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know, and I think a lot of the things with boundaries, they don't necessarily fall well on the ears because, again, it could really sound like either you do this but we're not talking about, I think it's important to note that we're not talking about either you buy me Starbucks every single time we do the drive or we're not going to be friends anymore. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like that, but if you like say something that I don't like and you say it all the time or you do these things all the time and I'm like, you know what, that doesn't sit well with me and I'm going to need you to either not do that or not do that with me.
Yeah.
So
this one's a lot about you convincing me about stuff.
It is.
Sorry.
So what do you think that's about?
I don't know. I think maybe we just have different, and maybe I have like situations in my mind. So like as far as healthy boundaries or people, because there are some people that I do have like limited interactions with that you've mentioned, but I'm so far removed from, and that's what I noticed yesterday when they asked for advice like right on the spot. I was like, holy crap, I'm so far removed from the healthy boundary. Like I've set mine, I've stuck to them,
and that's it. And
I sort of don't really have to deal with it all that much anymore, because I do think just like training your brain, you're also training people how to treat you.
Yeah.
And I don't really have...
Maya Angelou quote. I think it might be Maya Angelou. I could be wrong.
I feel like
you
it's
teach
Dr.
people how
Phil.
to treat you. It's not Dr. Phil. I can guarantee you that it's not. Definitely not Dr. Phil. He does say it. But I think that's Maya Angelou quote. We have some questions. Hang on.
Okay.
Desiree said, actions speak louder than words. That is the key. That is the absolute key. Just making sure that the other day I posted that, or yesterday I posted that I forget what appreciation is not something that you say, it's something that you do. And the premise behind that, again, it's another healthy boundary. I could do something for you and you say, you know what, Brenda, I really appreciate you doing this, but if your actions don't show that you appreciate me, then do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Scott said, how can you relate that to an office environment with coworkers that you are forced to interact with daily?
That's so good. I think it's the same way with family, and it has to be, part of that is about having a safe environment where you can have those kind of conversations, and that's something that you may or may not have control over if it's that kind of environment. There are definitely work environments that people sort of say, like, I look back at some of the stuff, even when I was an HR manager, I would tell people, this isn't a sorority. I don't care if you like each other. Like, you still have to get along.
This isn't a sorority. That's such an HR-y thing to say.
No, and it's shitty. It wasn't very nice.
It wasn't. That's so HR. That's very HR of you.
And I wasn't always. Sometimes I was like that. That was where I was a little more whatever. Anyway, so yeah, that.
Well, I can think about a particular place where we worked together, and
we can talk about it openly because it's not even open anymore.
Yeah.
You're filtering.
I am. I'm so filtering.
Don't filter.
Okay, I won't filter.
And then when you're done, I'm gonna be like, crap, you should have filtered.
Say you should have filtered, Brenda. I'm not going to filter.
Okay.
When I like the word that you use, forced. You're forced to interact with these people every day, and I had to adopt, again, that I said that was very HR-y of you, but I had to adopt that thought and that mindset, and it caused me to retreat in a way that may not have necessarily been healthy, because I didn't like it almost anybody who worked there.
Yeah.
So instead of
forcing,
except for you and like 3 or 4 other people.
Oh, I was kind of joking, but you really...
No, seriously.
Yeah.
Even though you were like the boss, you were like the big boss. So, but she was the boss. We argue about this all the time. She was the boss. But it caused me to retreat, and I don't know if that was necessarily healthy, but now you know what, it was, because again, just like I said, just like Tracy said, it was for their safety. I would rather not talk to you at all than to put myself in a position to where what you're doing, you clearly keep crossing this line.
Right.
And you were very helpful in that sense. Like when we did come to you with issues with other people.
Yeah.
But like you said, it was very much, you guys need to just figure it out.
Well, okay, so let's think about that, like, very seriously. This is a thing. So let's say I have a coworker, and I go to a place where I didn't interact with someone a lot, but she kind of just drove me crazy, and because she complained all the time. So I had to figure out in my own way to just not pay attention to her. But I think a couple of things. One would be very similar to how you would handle it outside of the work environment, is first write down what is the behavior that is bothering you. Why is it bothering you? Kind of get clear on that. Try to get to a place of peace with that where you're not. And we could like definitely steering it,
right,
kind of understanding what you think and why you think that, and what you're feeling behind all of it. And then what the consequence is. Now, you might not be quite as... What happened?
Charles said, you actually were the boss with a capital B.
Oh, yeah, that was my last name. That was my last name. Like, getting clear on that, the consequence, you may not have as much interaction, and really that has to be about you. Like, how can you, what can you limit your interactions? Because in a work environment, there are times, and I'm very specifically thinking about one person that refused to speak to another person in the same department.
Oh.
And it affected their ability to do the job. And I'm like, you can't do that. You can't, like, give someone the silent treatment that you have to discuss their, the
at least
job.
the job, right?
Right. So what they were doing was emailing back and forth, and then these emails would go on like forever. So that's kind of how I got involved, where they said, hey, they're having this issue, and I'm like, I mean, you have to be able to at least communicate cordially, and that's where my favorite policy, which was failure to interact courteously and professionally to the point that morale or productivity suffers, could be grounds for termination. So that's where I like that. And the other part is, I think you do get management and or HR involved.
I think that the problem with that in the workplace is what is the guidepost for what is courteous? Do you know what I mean? Because, for instance, I had a situation recently with my job. Remember, there was the whole, I thought that I communicated in perfectly fine. I wasn't rude. I wasn't disrespectful. But because I was saying something that nobody wanted to hear, which, surprise! But because I was saying something that they didn't necessarily want to hear, they called HR to it. And she's like, kind of that deal. Well, you have to interact in a certain way. And I was like, okay, well, can you tell me what I said that was not courteous or professional? And she's like, well, it's really the way that they received it. That's not my problem.
Yeah, I can't control that. Yeah.
And I won't try to. I won't even attempt to.
No, you can't.
So, I mean, when you find yourself in that kind of a situation, I think what we're getting at here is that healthy boundaries are different for everybody. And what your healthy boundaries are to you, only you can set those and only you can decide those. But it's up to you also to communicate them in a way that is fair and productive.
Right. And I think, one of my favorite... I don't like to give advice very often.
You don't.
I don't. But one of my favorite pieces of advice is when you start to have a difficult conversation with someone, is to say, and this, I thank HR, the HR world for helping me with this, to start out the conversation with, this is a really difficult conversation for me.
I think that's what Tracy just said. Sometimes you have to come right out and say things that are difficult. I had to tell a coworker that I didn't want to be her best friend. Kat's comment about a sorority role reminded me of that. She cried, but it helped set that boundary so that we can work together. She cried, but so what? No, I'm just kidding. You can't, and she said, I'm right, you can't control how they receive it. And I think oftentimes we try to hold other people responsible for how we receive things. If you're hearing something that I didn't say, that's not my problem. So I think that, again, it always goes back to knowing yourself and having that self-awareness to know, to be sure that you are putting it out there in a way that is neutral. So however they receive it is how they receive it.
That's why you got to kind of get,
right.
You may have to pre-steer it before you get there, so you're...
For sure.
So that you're in neutral. Oh, I know there's something with that.
Something with that.
Yeah. So yeah, to be in a place that's neutral, and I think, but that's one of my favorite things, is to say, this is a difficult conversation for me to have, and I've talked to a lot of people. I have family that's come to me with, hey, I don't know how to set this boundary. I'm not sure how to say it. It's a really hard, and I said, start out by saying, this is really hard for me to talk to you about, because I don't want to hurt you. I love you. And
it is what it is.
And I can no longer have you just walk in my back door without knocking.
Don't walk in my back door without knocking. You better say it, girl. And you guys keep hearing us refer to steering it. If you're new or you have not been following us or don't know, go watch like the first or second episode. Second episode, we go into detail about what steer is. And so now we can reveal exactly what steer does.
It helps you navigate roads.
Roads, ROADS, and roads is an acronym that stands for roadblocks,
obstacles,
a-holes,
detours, and speed bumps.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, I can't get it. So roadblocks, obstacles, a-holes, detours, and speed bumps. Those are the roads that Steer will help you to navigate, and it's an actual process that Kat created, and that we teach people in companies and individuals and everything. So just go watch episode 2 and you'll know exactly what Steer is. Tracy said love it. We knew you would love it, Tracy.
We were a little apprehensive about the A in there, but you know what? That's what it is. I mean,
because sometimes it's in understanding that sometimes you can't control the behavior of another person, and if that's just who this person is, then the only thing that you can do is fix yourself and control how you think about it and how you receive it. So Steer helps you to do that.
It does. So let's recap.
Okay.
So healthy boundaries, I think, first is an act of self-love.
Yes.
It's not about the other person, it's about you.
Yes. Remembering that is a good way to kind of start out on figuring out how you're going to set these boundaries. And the best way to do that is to start by writing down the reason that this is your boundary. Why is this your boundary? And what's your reasoning for wanting to set this moving forward?
Make sure that there's some type of an outcome, a tangible outcome.
Yes.
That you stick to.
Right.
Stick to your guns.
Stick to your guns. That's the key. Because like Kat said, just like Steer teaches you to retrain your brain, when you are interacting with people, if you've already taught them that it's okay to constantly cross your boundaries, then now you have to retrain them into knowing it's no longer okay for you to continually cross these boundaries.
Yeah, and I don't have boundary pushers in my life. I really don't anymore.
You don't do what?
I don't have boundary pushers in my life anymore.
Do you think it's because have you had to release any people because they were like,
hell yeah,
constant?
Yes. Yes.
Because they were constant boundary pushers, and some people adjusted.
But there are people that are just no longer in my life. Period.
That's it. That's all.
The end. Yeah. So I think that's it. We went a little long. I knew kind of we would.
I figured we would on this topic.
This was a big one.
This is a really good topic. So, we are still always loving topics that we receive from you guys. We have one from the other day. I'm not sure exactly if that's going to be the next show or how we're rolling with this, but we have a really good one for the other day. From the other day, rather. Yeah. I forget what it was, but it was good.
I know. I was like, I hope she remembers because I don't.
But do you remember us talking about it? We were like, this is a good show idea.
Yeah, and you put it in Trello because we keep Trello. We keep a Trello thing of everything. But I think we'll continue to have people vote too.
Yes, we will have you guys vote on what it is that you want to talk about.
Yeah. So I think that's it.
That is it. We love you guys so much. Just don't forget, we are Saturdays at 9 o'clock now. We'll be on Facebook Live. We will upload these videos to YouTube. So go or you don't like on YouTube. What are you doing on YouTube?
Subscribe.
Go subscribe to SYLC Consulting, SYLC Consulting. Check out our website, sylcconsulting.com.
And share the drive.
Share the drive. Don't forget to share the drive.
Yeah, and share the page because that when we get to 1,000 likes, we will be giving either a crisp $100 bill if you're local or
something.
Or
Scott said he's going to stalk the show one time and keep driving around behind us and following us. That's hilarious. That is so funny. Thank you so much. Good show, Scott said. Tracy said, great discussion. Charles said, help steer roads. He loves it. So thank you so very much. We appreciate you guys. Today, it was a little bit of a rough start.
It's all right.
We'll get it together.
Or not.
Or not. You know what? I love you so much. That's why I love you. Or we won't get it together. You guys just have to tolerate it. I'm just kidding. But we love you so very much. Thank you so much. And we will see you next Saturday on the drive at the same time as today, 9 a.m. Thank you so much. Talk to you later. Bye.